Ever find yourself just overthinking a lot of things? Overthinking things to the point where you just choose to stop thinking about it and avoid what you're thinking about. This behavior of avoidance is often rooted in anxiety, and anxiety can cause you to miss out on a lot of things, and it can cause a lot of pain to people that are suffering from it. Anxiety is a big issue because, according to the Brain and Behavior Science Foundation, Dr. Francis Lee says that it is the most common psychiatric disorder among young adults, children, people of all ages. And that just shows you how the magnitude of it is. And it can become, according to the Dr. Lee, he says that it can become so strong that it affects attention and it causes people to not associate with what they need to be around. And another issue is anxiety is a big issue amongst children, and a lot of times children are missing classes, and as a result, they're dropping out, and they're often dropping out of fear of showing up to class because they're misdiagnosed with anxiety. And statistically speaking, 5.5% of adolescents aged between 13 and 18 will be diagnosed with anxiety. However, the Child Mind Institutes for Children's Health Mental Report, which gave that fact, also says that 80% of people who have anxiety disorder will not be diagnosed. And that's a problem. People are feeling these emotions and they don't know what it is, and they never receive treatments, they never get better. And it comes to a point where it disrupts daily life, and people avoid things, they'll often miss class. And common misconceptions about students that are missing class is that they have rebellious tendencies, that they just don't want to show up. But true reality in most of the reasons is that the children is afraid to speak up or be around other people. They're just afraid. They leave class to avoid it. And some children honestly have separation anxiety from their parents and they don't feel comfortable when they're not in their home. Anxiety causes pain in people so much that it causes their life to be much more painful, everyday life of doing things, than it would for the normal people. First thing it does, according to real life counseling, it causes a loss in confidence to do things. And this feel of worry makes it to where you don't want to achieve goals or expectations, and you just don't really try anymore. And as a result, secondly, anxiety can cause you to lose interest in things, and that's a bad thing. That can cause anxiety to cause depression, losing interest in things, and that can just be a terrible feeling to have no interest in life, and that comes from anxiety. And the thing is, people won't realize that that loss of interest as a result of anxiety was from anxiety, and they'll always be not interested in things because they're too afraid to live up to their expectations. And well, it causes missed opportunities. As I said before, people are afraid to live up to their opportunities, and so they lose opportunities. They don't expose themselves. They shelter themselves, and it can cause people to not be as successful. Believe it or not, the longer someone goes untreated with anxiety, the more likely they are to develop issues later down the road. And this is important because, as mentioned before, 80% of people are undiagnosed with social anxiety. And it can be bad for some people that it leads to the point where they don't leave their house, as Dr. Lee Francis explains. And according to the Brain and Behavior Institute, young children who are never diagnosed with anxiety at an early age have a higher chance than those who never had anxiety or were diagnosed with anxiety to develop mental illnesses like schizophrenia, depression, and substance abuse disorders, which all that mixed together can just wreak terrible havoc on our life. And, well, anxiety can become so bad that people need to seek medication and people need to seek treatment. And luckily, medication can help, but it can't cure it. There is a cure to anxiety, by the way, believe it or not. But certain medications that are described to treat anxiety are not being used correctly, and a lot of people are under this false illusion that they are meant to cure it. And according to the Help Guide, which lays out a long list of anxiety medications and their perceived benefits, benzos and SSRIs, which are two common medications to treat anxiety, are shown to not really help if you're not doing the therapy that goes with it. And especially benzos, that can lead to a drug dependence. And well, this line of thinking of relying on antidepressants to help fix you is kind of how a drug addict thinks. A drug addict gets high to want to feel better. However, medications can be useful when it's involved with exposure therapy. Where you're not just taking these medications and isolating yourself. When you're taking these medications to get out, to change your daily life, it will help you. Cognitive therapy is what this is called, and it exposes you to those fears repeatedly, and you just become so exposed to those fears that you just get used to them. And this is still all from Help Guide. And what it does is the more that you become less fear of things, the more your daily life can change. So to cure anxiety, you don't necessarily need to overcome that fear. You also need to change your life. You need to change your personal life, make its change, because making a change to yourself will make you change the way you think about yourself. And the way you think about yourself